Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video doing JMA Friday for today's first video. So as well as on a Friday, we're having a look at weather for the month ahead with Japanese and CFS V2 models. Coming up later on after that, this afternoon, we'll have a look at the weather for next week's 10 days. That's going to take us up to Christmas, of course. And then tonight, we've got the 20th Christmas update. So 3 videos up for you today. Hope you find them interesting and informative. But starting us off is JMA Friday. So this is your month ahead look. And we're going to begin by having a look at the Japanese model, and then we'll go on and have a look at the CFS V2. Got a bit of a cold, so I'll probably be coughing away through this, but hopefully we'll get through it all right. So we'll start off with the JMA 500 millibar height anomaly charts. Looking at the North Pole view down, and these are broken down into weekly pairs. So this is the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere just here. The mid-latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere are around there. So 500 millibars is an area in absolute high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream. Blue is extrapolating to low pressure. Yellow, orange and red extrapolating to high pressure. These are broken down into week pairs. The first weekly period will take us from the 14th through to the 21st of December. So the JMA is placing a big area of below average heights over and to the west of the UK. We have got quite a strong blocking signal up to our north, all this yellow and orange up here. But in the week ahead, it's generally this low pressure in the Atlantic that's the driver for us bringing in, excuse me, these west or southwesterly winds. So rather wet and windy and quite unsettled in the week ahead. Not particularly cold. The wind is in from the west. That takes us through to week 2, going from the 21st through to the 28th of December. So over Christmas, we still have this area of below average heights over just a little bit to the east of the country, above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. And this would send the jet stream on a northwest-southeast trajectory. So it's unsettled, and it's probably going a little bit colder as well, actually. I think the JMA is hinting at bringing in some colder air, either from the north or from the northwest. So, I mean, it's not a classically cold Christmas because we haven't got a strong blocking signal. But it is colder. It is a colder Christmas than we've had for a little while, actually. We've had a run of very mild Christmases. So if this comes off, it's a colder Christmas than we've had for some time. Albeit it's not as severely cold Christmas pattern. But there probably would be potential for a little bit of winteriness, particularly for northern and western parts of the country, I would have thought. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 28th of December through to the 11th of January. And we still have the below average heights out to the west of the country at this point. We have got a blocking signal up to the north over the North Pole. Whether that's stratospheric warming related, I'm not sure. But there is a little bit of a blocking signal up to the north. However, the early part of January for us is really dominated by westerly winds, keeping the jet stream coming through rather like that. Remember, it's a 2-weekly anomaly, so it might be a bit transitional. Maybe week 3 is still very westerly, and then week 4, this blocking signal up to the north begins to become a little bit more influential. We can't say for definite either way, but a 2-weekly anomaly can always be a little bit transitional. But overall, over the month as a whole, looking generally quite westerly dominated with the JMA today, albeit we get a slightly colder interval over Christmas perhaps. This is the tropical and mid-latitude view, so the British Isles is just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you are looking at it. Reminder of the week 1 500 millibar height on the flowchart with the below average heights to the west and bringing in those westerly winds. So the temperature anomaly in the weekend is coming out a lot milder than average. Remember, it's taking us from today, the 24th, through to the 21st of December. Much milder than average, particularly so for southern parts of the country. Precipitation-wise, it looks very unsettled as well, with above average rainfall being forecast there. So a mild wet week coming up with that one. Week 2, which is over Christmas, it's the 21st of December through to 28th with the below average heights. If anything, just that little bit to the east of us. Above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic could send the jet stream either on a northwesterly or possibly even a rather northerly trajectory. This should be a colder week, The JMA temperature anomalies is still coming out much milder than average, actually, so not really seeing any reduction in temperature. But I do think based on the 500 millibar height anomaly, there is a little bit more cold potential there than the model is suggesting with its temperature anomaly, and still very unsettled this week too. So above average precipitation still being forecast there from the 21st to the 28th of December. If the model is right, it's a mild wet Christmas, but I think it could be a little bit colder based on the 500 millibar height anomaly. And with above average precipitation, there is wintry potential in my opinion. And we go through to weeks 3 and 4. Excuse me, it takes us from the 28th December through to the 11th of January. And we have the below average heights out to the west and the above average heights down to the southwest. The jet stream is going through like that. We can't see the North Pole, but we know there is a strengthening blocking signal through this 2-weekly period. Perhaps temperature anomalies are falling to closer to average, but still on the milder than average side. Through this 2-weekly period from the end of December into the early part of January. Precipitation anomalies are still coming out above average, so a very unsettled month to come and generally quite mild, albeit I think there's a chance of something a bit colder over Christmas. Right, we'll see what CFS V2 has to say next. So again, these are 500 millibar heights, so break it down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 14th to the 20th of December with the below average heights out to the west. And we've got above average heights up to the northeast, over Scandinavia, and also down to the southwest. So generally westerly with the flow during this week. You'll expect it to be unsettled and quite mild. Week 2 is the 21st to 27th of December with the below average heights up to the north and northwest. The above average heights pulling out into the middle of the Atlantic. So this is similar to what the JMA is suggesting, albeit that area below average heights is slightly more to our west compared to the JMA, which has it a little bit off the eastern side of Scotland. The flow will probably still be northwest southeast aligned there. So again, it's unsettled, but possibly a little bit colder, I would have thought, over Christmas. That takes us through to week 3, which is 28th of December through to the 3rd of January. Below average heights again to the northwest, above average heights down to the southwest in the middle of the Atlantic. Again, northwest southeast alignment to the jet stream looks possible, so probably unsettled and rather cool. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 4th through to the 10th of January. Below average heights then to the west of the UK. Above average heights seem to be moving down towards southern Spain and North Africa. And notice all of this red that's appearing here around Canada and Greenland. So that's very extensive blocking that's appearing there. Now, in its own terms, this isn't enough to get us cold, because what's actually happening here is that we're still in this southwesterly or westerly flow. But maybe by week 4, just signs that we've got northern blocking. Again, possibly stratospheric warming related. But we've got northern blocking just starting to strengthen quite a lot by the time we get through to week 4. So that may be indications as we go into January, but of the first hints, I suppose, of some proper blocking getting going. Temperature anomalies in the week ahead from the 14th to 20th of January are much milder than average. And when we go through to week 2, which I thought looked like it could be a little bit cooler over Christmas, but that also is forecasting to be much milder than average as well. Week 3, which takes us through the new year, it's the 28th of December to the 3rd of January. A little bit milder than average, but not as mild as it is in weeks 1 and 2, actually, so just a little bit cooler there, albeit still a bit above average. And then week 4, despite that strengthening blocking signal, it looks very mild in week 4, 4th to 10th of January, above average temperature anomalies. In fact, there's hardly anywhere in the entire Northern Hemisphere that's being forecast to have anything colder than average. So you'll notice across Canada and North America, it looks very warm over there. And we've got Europe and Russia looking very warm there. Over towards Siberia, it looks warm. And then down to Asia, including China, looks very warm down there. So they really are struggling to find anywhere that's particularly colder than average. It does look very over the top, that. I suspect when we get through to that week, the 4th to the 10th of January. I suspect we'll find some parts of the Northern Hemisphere have colder than average temperature anomalies. I can't believe that virtually the entire Northern Hemisphere is going to be bathed in warmer than average temperature anomalies. So that looks a little bit ridiculous, to be honest. Let's have a look at precipitation anomalies finally. And week 1 precipitation anomalies from the 14th, 20th of December. Much wetter than average, very unsettled week coming up. Significantly above average precipitation anomalies. And then we go through to week 2 over Christmas, the 21st, 27th of December. Overall on the above average side with precipitation, albeit not as much as in week 1. Then week 3, precipitation, the 28th of December to the 3rd of January, coming out close to average, possibly hinting at still being a little bit above average. And then week 4, it's a very unsettled month coming up, if this is right. Week 4 is the 4th to the 10th of January, and that also has above average precipitation, which is unusual because normally by that point the precipitation signal would be weakening. So it's as you were really from JMA Friday this week. For the past 2 or 3 weeks, the JMA updates with the Japanese and CFS V2 models have been very much set on substantially above average temperatures, much wetter than average conditions, and just the Atlantic unleashed through the rest of December and into January. And that's still what both of these long-range models have seen, albeit there are subtle differences. And I still think there's a suggestion within that for just something a little bit colder over Christmas, but there's no sign of it on the temperature anomalies for both of these models. But really they want to keep the Atlantic going and keep us unsettled and westerly right the way through into the early part of January. Now this could well be the way this plays out. The shorter range models though are hinting at something a little bit colder potentially for Christmas and through to the latter part of the year. More on that in today's second video. But of course this could be the way things are going to play out. So we'll just wait and see. It could look different next week. We've got to see what impacts that sudden stratospheric warming, if we get it, is going to have. So not a very good update for anyone who wants cold conditions from JMA Friday this week, as they haven't been for the past few weeks, but we should wait and see what happens. Right, come back this afternoon when we'll have a detailed look at weather the next week to 10 days, and then tonight we've got the 20th Christmas update. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.